Welcome to another edition of the Bones of Advertising. I'm still Craig McLeod, which makes you John Douglas. And today we're going to keep it a little bit Aussie, aren't we? We're going to have a little bit of a scratch and sniff at some new stuff and some really good old stuff.
Scratch and sniff. Is there anything more Aussie than we're just going to have a bit of a scratch and sniff?
Do you remember those? They were bloody stickers, and you'd give them a little scratch and be like, "Oh yeah, that's lovely. That's a little bit of strawberry."
Yeah. Oh, it's technology. See, that's what when our ancestors dreamed about going to Mars and going beyond the solar system, they didn't realise the anchoring power of a scratch and sniff card. I don't want to be an interstellar explorer. Scratch
and sniff. Away we go. So what's the actual bone, JD, that you're going to sort of
reinvention? We're going to talk about reinvention.
Okay, I like it. It's good, and we're going to talk about some biggies in Australia that's exciting for me. So, do you want to start? Do you want to begin with Woolies, or do you want to go somewhere else?
No. I think we should start with one of the biggest Australians of them all.
Okay, not BHP, which is the quintessential big Australian.
That's the big Australian. Yeah, it's nothing more Australian than digging shit out of the ground and selling it overseas.
Giving it to China.
No, I want to talk about Telstra. A couple of ads that have floated across our bows in our relentless search for new and interesting advertising things to talk about. The latest offering from Telstra. Now, you flagged this, you saw this, and you said, I reckon we should have a look at this. And
I was watching the footy and up it popped, and I thought to myself, this is different from them. And I think from their process of constantly coming out with offers or broadband and, getting more broadband, let's not mention, we won't back over bloody the NBN, whatever that was.
Let's back over and see if we can kill it.
Not back up over that again, but traditionally lots of offers. So been a long time since there's been a brand campaign. So coming out, and what's the actual positioning in it, JD? What are we saying they're saying? We are?
Yeah, we are. We're Australian. They could have just gone with the classic, the seekers, the new seekers, the old seekers. What is it? Well, I am, you are, we are Australian. But they didn't. Hats off to them. Hats off to them. They didn't. I think that they have classic, like they have turned around from a very product-centric, sales-oriented organisation to being a very market-led organisation, and that has come about for a number of reasons. Optus and iiNet and all of those different offers that have come out. But I think they've gone to the market and they've looked at what the Australian people are most concerned about. What are their fears? What are their frustrations? What are the things that they really want? And there's a massive amount of fear going through the Australian market at the moment because of fired by uncertainty. And, I'm not going to get into politics, but, uncertainty. And I think there is a genuine understanding that Australians are a little bit like we're sheltering. We're a little bit frightened about what could be happening out there. And we want to be able to stay in touch with things that are important to us. And it's made even more prevalent by the fact that we can't go out half the time and go and have a beer with a mate because we're in bloody lockdown 12.4 or whatever.
I think you make a great point, mate. I think they've done a really good job.
Let's play the ad. Let's play the ad.
Yep.
Can we play the ad?
Let's play the ad right here, shall we? Yeah, how good was that?
Oh, like it's
Fantastic.
just, it's delightful. And all it's doing is saying to people, when it really matters, if it really matters for you to stay in touch, if it really matters when you think you might have an emergency, like Uncle Larry's coughing himself to death on the couch,
Yep.
or when coverage matters, if you're out in the back blocks and you really need to get, like when it really matters, it's worth paying a couple of bucks extra a month just to make sure that you can get in touch with the people you need to get in touch with. And it's so it's big, safe and friendly, but it's reminding people of all of the wonders of the country, wonders of connection and humanity and people and the country. And
I think you're right. I think it's in response to what we've gone through over the last 18 months or, however long it's been now. But I also think that they did it exceptionally well by not finitely focusing just on what we've experienced. I think what they did is they transcended that and talked about the importance in all situations. So not just what we're experiencing now, because people have also elements of their life going on, like you said, whether it's an uncle who's unwell, but you need to be able to connect with them, or if you're on the cattle station and you're headed in a direction, the map's telling you where to go because you've got great Telstra coverage. And I think that underpinning why is really, really good. I think the cinematic elements of the
it's beautiful.
Videography,
beautifully shot. Like it's just
really good.
Out and touches you. And as much as you go, oh, they're bloody, they're money hungry bastards. Gee, I can't help liking them just at this very, very point in time. Like,
well, I'm a believer. Like as you know, my family's got a farm and it's a long way out. You don't get coverage unless you're not with Telstra. So if you really need to rely on it, that's where you got to be. And I think they've done a great job of being able to personify the why you should choose it over the competitor.
Indeed. And here's why. Speaking of why, here's why they've become so very good at marketing. And it happened, I'm going to say 20 years ago, 16, 17.
We'll know and we'll put it up. But yeah, here's why.
Yeah, here's why. I love monkeys. I love monkeys just waving their hands around. Yes. It's just as like all of a sudden, way back, they've gone from Telstra, have gone from being the only player in the market.
Owned by government. I think that was the pivotal point, wasn't it?
Yep.
And now being a private company.
Yeah. And remember if you ever had to complain to Telstra, young children,
not private.
Young children, you don't remember this, but there used to be a time when there were your phones that were strapped to the wall. You had a wire to the wall, and
they had cords on them like this one here.
you had to stand. That's a good use.
And it was called Telecom Australia.
Yeah. And that was a good use of a prop. You just have to stand there. Remember, you have to stand there, getting on the phone to Telstra, and it's like, oh, I'll transfer you now. And then you don't even listen to hold music. It was just silence for hours. Yep. And you think, am I still on hold? Am I still like?
Are they getting to me?
Yeah. Have they just ghosted me? Is this a practical joke? Like, it was awful. Right. It was awful. And then Optus came along and said, here's an alternative. We're safe, we're friendly, we're funny, we're human, who cares? Like,
we're elephants, we're in Africa, we're spiders, we're all of that. But what we are is we're yes.
Yes. Yes.
There is an alternative.
And they used to do things like, it's yes time. And, there was just I remember, I think it was when it first came out, it was, it's for you. Optus, it's for you. Because that was that classic kind of, you'd pick up the phone because it was, one family, one phone.
Oh.
And you go to the kitchen and it'd be ringing and it'd be like, yeah. Oh, hang about. It's for you. Like, It was classic. Like it was, and then they turned to yes, and it was like, we will say yes to anything. and so they launched. So that they invented market competitiveness in the telecommunications industry in Australia.
Yep, absolutely. And at that stage, I'm not sure whether they were Singtel, whether they were coming out of Singapore. Is that how it all began, Optus in Australia? I can't remember how it all began, but you're right. That was really that competitive, it was the underdog or, the second player in the market that really did provide an option. And it really forced price comparison, even though the coverage wasn't as good for a long, long time, but it did give people another option, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And around about that same time, happening over in supermarket land.
Okay, so Woolies. Yeah.
Now, Woolies have always been pretty much the market leader in Australia. And Coles came along and said, what do Australian grocery shoppers want? They want cheaper prices.
Down.
Prices down. We are cheaper. On a bargain, we'll keep prices low.
Get to us, 2 for 1, all that sort of bullshit they've done for years.
So they kept banging on about prices are low, and they were starting to win market share off Woolworths.
Yep.
So Woolworths had to go to them, come back and say, oh, well, what are we going to do? Oh, I don't know. Fresh. If they don't want prices, they want range, and they want fresh. So
fresh food people. Fresh food people.
And then they came out with this magnificent campaign out of, I believe, MSC Saatchi in Sydney. But they came out with this.
Σταύρο, πουλιά θα σου κάνει το κομμάτι. Τα παλιόπουλα τα διώξουμε λοιπόν. Άλλη δουλειά δεν κάνεις, κάνε κάτι. Θα σου κάνω όλη τη κομμάτι, κοίταξε. Για όλα να διώξτα. Εντάξει, τα έδιωξα. Διώξτα, ναι. Φύγανε, εντάξει, ευτυχώς. Θα στην εφημερίδα μου τώρα. Δεν κάνεις μια σωστή δουλειά.
Not a bad response, Dad. And if you look at the stats, which I think you'll share with the punters, it had a fairly significant impact on that degradation of their market share. It almost stopped it and went the other way, didn't it?
It did. Well, they started to put a bit more of a gap in the market over time. Like
it did take time.
They were clever. They're committed. Like they understood that it's not the sort of thing that they're going to see a response in days or even the first year.
Yep.
But after 3, 4, 5 years, they really started to increase that gap again. Although both supermarkets started to lose market share to Aldi and IGA and all of those. Like they went from owning 80% of the market to now they own 65% or 70% combined, the two of them.
Yeah, right.
But the gap between Coles and Woolworths has broadened again. So Woolies is again the market, and based on the back of this old Greek couple who've got some bloody cans in their backyard. Like that was just a fantastic ad. There's not one word of English spoken in the whole thing.
Doesn't need to be, because it just translates the idea behind what you're actually getting, and that feeling of them being grown like that's going to be on your plate was the perfect play. Like it was really clever because it depositioned price. All of a sudden, it just made price equal shit quality, which was the thing that they won on. And that's how I think they were able to generate this whole focus, which really leads us into what's happening now. I mean, one of the ones that's in market at the moment that they've just launched. So both the Telstra ad and the Coles ad, 60 seconds. Is that right? Yep. So full 60s.
From the very beginning, when we dreamed, you helped us make it a reality.
I ain't seen nothing like this before in my life.
Our Coles Farmer partnerships propel us forward. Like fresh beef with no added hormones.
I ain't seen nothing like this.
Responsibly sourced seafood. And ever more responsible ways to grow. Our stores will be powered by renewable electricity by June 2025. Our dream is to be Australia's most sustainable supermarket, but we'll need your help to get there. Introducing Together to Zero. Zero hunger, zero waste, and zero emissions. For generations to come.
You'll see I've come a long way with you, my love.
The sentiment behind what they're talking about there is really, really interesting. So they are potentially, I mean, we don't know this as a fact, potentially looking at repositioning as a business. This whole sustainability, all of our power will be from renewable sources by 2025.
Yeah. They just need to, they need to find a way. Like, it seems like they're moving away, because this is so vastly different from down, prices are down.
Polar.
But it's the parent, it's Coles. It's Coles coming out and saying, you know, we give a damn and we're going to be zero and zero hunger.
And we need your help. What I like is we need your help. That's the part where they're kind of really binding this whole story with people's own personal brand story or beliefs, really connecting what they see that's happening in our world with what they're proposing they're going to do. So now if you align your brand being someone that is keen on renewable power, making sure there's zero waste, making sure that the fish is sustainably sourced, making sure the beef has no hormones, like all of these really important things. If that's how you feel as a person, you almost instantly can align yourself with what they're saying or purporting as a brand.
And it'll be interesting. They've given themselves 4 years, 3 years to do it.
Yep.
Like it's saying by this time, which is, you know, it's classic kind of corporate puffery.
Yep.
But if they're serious about it, and then next year they come out and they say all our fish is sustainably sourced.
Yep.
Then people will go, well, they're right about that. Like you just need to if you keep delivering on the promise, people will start going, well, they keep their prices down, because that'll stick around for a bit.
Yep.
Keep their prices down and they're sustainably sourced.
But it'll be interesting, JD, because this to me seems like a brand play without a doubt. So what are they going to do tactically to maintain volume of sales as well? So how are they going to run them side by side?
There's the $64 billion question right there. How do they operationalize that?
Yeah, because that's difficult to operationalize. Like, it's a big statement over a long period of time. And probably got a bit of corporate puffery in it. But I think the way they've done it exceptionally well is we need you. We need your help. Like, so good. I'm bought in. Yeah. I'm bought in. I'm the recycling machine. Like, I'm bought in. I really do think that they're onto something here. Not sure whether it is holistic, how long it's going to stick around. We don't know all of that, but I think it was a really inspiring and clever move. You know, I think perhaps also on the back of a bit of a shitty time in Australia as well. So they realised we need to do something that's going to make people feel something, like an emotional response, really trying to drive that feeling that if you see it, it's going to make you perhaps think, fuck, will I go to Woolies or will I go to Coles today? Will I make a change in my head because of what they're proposing? I think good, clever.
I think the thing will be, so if you look at what Woolies did when they did the fresh food people, just go back very briefly to that.
Yeah.
They made it very specific about the customer. Because you're about fresh food, we're about fresh food.
Yeah.
And that immediately they said, if you don't care about fresh food and you just want prices, you go to the other people. We really don't care. What we care about is making sure you get the best produce possible. So what Coles, I think, need to do is they need to go, okay, so if you are the people who care about sustainability, sustained food, less packaging, they should do things like when you go to Coles and you've got all the stuff in the bush, you know, the little plastic things that the meat comes on in.
Yeah, the tray. Yep.
Woolies, not recyclable. So Coles could have a quick win by just coming out and going, all of our packaging is recyclable. You can just chuck it in the recycling. Life's good.
And you imagine on that, though, just to labour that point, what it would do to all of the suppliers to Coles to say, by whatever date, if you can't deliver your product in a sustainable way that's fully recyclable, we can't help you. We won't buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
Because God help, there's a bunch of shit on their shelves that clearly is not recyclable.
Yeah. And it's like, there's the win.
Yeah.
And what they need to do, but what they've done is they've screwed their suppliers so long on price.
Yep.
That they now need to support their suppliers. And here's where the corporate dollar suddenly becomes,
because making it recyclable is going to cost more, JD.
It's going to cost more.
Yeah.
It's going to cost more. So if they want to keep their prices down and be sustainable and be corporate responsible and all of that, then something's going to have to give. And historically, the thing that's given, the thing that has gone away fastest is the marketing message.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a great message. I want it to be true.
Yep.
But the proof will be in the pudding. You can't just say by 2025, because if I don't see improvements in the next year, Coles, you're gone.
Yeah, well, again, you know, that's a bucket of money that's been spent. And if it's not going to be lived, like, you can say it, but you've got to live it. If I don't walk into a Coles sometime over the next 6 months and see messages about this change and the sustainability, that, you know, if I'm picking up a tray of fish, I don't know, whatever it is, but I want to know that the thing underneath is recyclable. I want to know, and I want proof that it's sustainably sourced, you know, like all of that stuff. It's big, really big stuff. But if they do it, what a win.
If they do it, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
And it will be classic buddy market competition. Woolies will start doing something interesting as well.
They'll come out with something new. So perhaps they'll no longer be the fresh food people. Maybe that they'll be the sustainable fresh food people too. I don't know.
Yeah. Or, you know, farmed in space, or who knows? That'll be Aldi. Aldi, we farm it in space. Good.
How good is Aldi? We're not going to go to Aldi because Aldi's a whole episode on its own. I just love it. There was one that happened the other day about 2 chicken fillets, and we're going to touch on that next week or the week after. But I absolutely love that. Today, that's been another edition of the Bones of Advertising.
We got a little serious. We got a little bit serious today, but I think it worked.
It was bloody good. I enjoyed that one. Well done, mate. I'll see you next week.
You will. Cheers.
See ya.